We're live. Hello, everybody in Facebook and YouTube land. It's Pickleball Therapy Live. I'm CJ Johnson, Better Pickleball, and one half of We Are Pickleball. Who are you?
What's happening? This is Tony. Tony from Into Pickle, the other half of We Are Pickleball. Sorry for the background noise. CJ's traveling, and I'm probably gonna be doing most of the speaking this evening because CJ's mic is a mess. That's why you're hearing that static when right now she's muted, so no static there. But hope everybody's doing well and enjoying themselves out there and playing Z pickleball. Jill finally got to see the movie Snatch with now you.
I'm just gonna say this. You just want to talk. That's the only reason. So, but I'm gonna mute my. I'm just kidding. I'm muting.
How about this?
I'm muting.
How about this? You go on YouTube and Facebook. Anybody out there who's listening to this thing, give CJ feedback on the. It's like it's unlistenable. It's like there's like it's crazy. Anyway, but I hope everybody's doing all right. And so I was telling what I was saying is Jill finally got to see the movie Snatch. If you haven't seen the movie Snatch, it's a treat. Watch the movie Snatch. And Brad Pitt's in it, Benicio del Toro, a bunch of people are in it. But there's he keeps on saying, I think it's Jason Statham. He keeps on saying it's the Germans, and so I was thinking of like the pickleball. Is that Mama G? Say hi to Mama G. But anyway, so hope everybody's doing all right out there. We wanted to reach out here and chat with you guys. CJ's gonna be checking them for questions, and CJ, I'm gonna throw it to you to check on YouTube and Facebook since you are mic impaired. And anyway, let me know if there's anything that I'm forgetting to say. But we wanted to share with you guys some things that are coming up. Just today, we scheduled some camps in November out there in California, the CA. We're going to be in area near Sacramento. So if you're in or near Sacramento and you want to, I would say, CJ, I recorded a little bit of a spot for that for the podcast today. And I'm going to say it's the most fun you're ever going to have on a pickleball court, and you're going to learn skills and strategies. I'm telling you, it's so. We had our two camps in Lake Tahoe. Everybody learned a ton, but we had a great time doing it. So it's I just can't recommend it enough to you. And as with anything CJ and I ever do, if you come to the camp and you don't enjoy the camp, we don't deliver for you. You just let us know. I'll give you cash back right there if you think the camp's not worth it. So I highly recommend it to you if you're interested. So we have one there near Sacramento. Then we have one near San Francisco in an area called Concord. And so we're going to be there November. I believe it's 15, 16, 17, and then 18, 19, 20. So 15, 16, 17 in the Sacramento area, 18, 19, 20 in the San Francisco Bay Area. Oakland, there's got to be some pickleball going on in Oakland. Let's go. Let's play some pickleball in Concord. So if you're interested in any of that, check us out at camps, CAMPS, at wearepickleball.com. We also are super excited. Our team is growing. We added our latest member of our team, and we're super excited to have her join us. We'll introduce her at a later, more formally at a later event because it just happened. But I think she's really gonna. We're super excited to have her with us, and it's gonna allow CJ and I to continue. You have to really focus more on content. So that's another exciting news. And then so tomorrow we have our Pickleball Therapy podcast. This is Pickleball Therapy Live. I highly recommend you check this out. It's available on Apple, Spotify, any podcast platform that you like. I think there's one that we're not on, but it's like very small and we just can't get on it. But anyway, but any other podcast platform. Tomorrow we're talking about two things, which are super cool. One, we're going to talk about the number one key that the advanced players do that a lot of the other players don't do. And what CJ and I have been talking about, as we continue to think of what content to bring to you and what content will most help your game is, when you look at pickleball players, right? You're starting. I think it goes down to 1-5, but I don't know anybody who self-identifies as a 1-5, although probably are 1-5s out there. But anyway, it's kind of like gymnastics scoring in the Olympics where everything's like 9.8 or better, even if the gymnast can fall off the beam, land on their head, go to the hospital, and a thing of 9.7, and you're like, what happened to 7, 6, 5? They don't exist anyway. So, but in our world, say like 2.5, right? So it's 2.5 to 6.0, right? That's the ranges. And what's interesting is really when you get out there and you look at and real quick there, we're not huge like numbers on pickleball, rating like that, but here it's helpful, right? Because we're trying to explain relative ability. So the 2.5 to 3.5 pickleball world is just filled with players, right? Who just are having like a hard time getting out of moving on, right? 3.0 is moving to 3.5, 3.5 is moving to 4.0, because that's how it should work, right? You should have players come in beginners, right? Maybe they come in 2.5, maybe they come in 3.0, maybe they come in 3.5 if they're former tennis players, something like that. But what happens is, players who've been playing 3-4 years, and they're still 3.5, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but it can be frustrating if you're a pickleball player and your objective is to improve. So if that's your personal choice, and that's something we're trying to be real clear about as well, we're not suggesting to everybody out there, you must have an improvement plan. You must want to become a 4.0 or 4.5 player. That's your choice. But if you want to become a 4.0 plus player, right? And you're stuck at 3.0 or stuck at 3.5 or 3.7 or 3.9, you're right there. What do I need to know to get out there? So CJ and I came up with what we thought were some of the top things that we identify that 4.0 plus players do. And so we talk about it in the podcast tomorrow, and we delve into one of those really in depth. And then in our video, it's coming out this weekend on Into Pickle on this channel, Into Pickle channel, one of our We Are Pickleball channels. That video is going to be about 3 of those, including the one on the podcast, but a little different spin on it, and then 2 other keys to success that the 4.0 plus players understand about their games. But let me slow down 1 second here and explain to you that the tip we're talking about tomorrow on the podcast, and I explained it in the podcast. I explained this in the podcast more, and on the video, even 4-5 plus players that we review their play, could still improve in those areas. Okay, so I'm not saying that they're 100% doing those things. What we're saying is that they do those things much more so than 3.5 players, and much more so than 3.0 players, right? And way more than rec, social players. Again, nothing against rec social play. If that's your jam, enjoy yourself, fully support it. But if you like to get better, I think these tips actually, I know that these tips in the podcast and the video, if you take them to heart and apply them to your game, they'll definitely help you improve if that's your jam, right? So we want to be there for you. If your jam is rec social play, come on in. The water's warm. We'll have a conversation with you about anything you want to talk about, right? If your jam is, I'd like to be a tournament player. I want to be a 4.0. I want to win nationals at 4.0. Come in. That's your jam. Come in. The water's warm. We'll help you with that, because we can do that. That's our jam as well. So that's in the podcast, and in the podcast, there was an interesting story. CJ, I'm not gonna tell the whole story today because it's in the podcast, right? So the podcast is Pickleball Therapy. I think I said that. So if you're on this thing and you're on YouTube or Facebook, it says Pickleball Therapy Live. Cut off live because it's not live; it's a podcast. It's Pickleball Therapy. That's the name of it. But in the riff, so the podcast has 2 segments to it. We talk, kind of take a long section on a substantive issue like the tip to success, and then we do a riff at the end, which is basically kind of like whatever's happening or whatever, frankly, I want to talk about. But in the riff. So I received an email today. I think it was very timely, and the email was from a friend of the channels, right? A friend of ours, basically positing a controversy that happened on the courts today, and it was apparently a big deal on their courts. This created some consternation, but it was involving an out call, right? And it wasn't the usual, I saw it in, you saw it out, and the angle thing that everybody's like very confused about. When do you call it out? I don't want to get into that right now. Maybe another podcast. I need to do a whole podcast just on that. But it was about something else having to do with out calls. Really interesting kind of angle on it. So if you want to check that out, the podcast drops at 6 a.m. tomorrow Eastern. So get yourself some podcasts. If you're in the Pacific, I think that's 3 o'clock in the morning. So you can set your alarm for 3 in the morning and check it out if you want to. Anyway, so listen to that. But I did want to address one thing on just generally, right, about kind of how rules can sometimes not ruin, but really dampen, right, the game and our enjoyment of the game. And listen, we have rules in the game, and they're we live by the rules of the game, right? And certainly there are rules that are like I don't want to say bigger picture, but there's rules that like the non-volley zone rule, serving cross court, who serves, who receives, the scoring, stuff like that, right? But there are rules that can simply ruin a good game. Things like the serve, right? A legal or illegal serve. I mean, if somebody's serving from their side, does it really matter if they're not like hammering overheads into your box, at 100 miles an hour? If they're just hitting like a little bit from the side, maybe they have a shoulder problem or an elbow problem or something like that. I mean, are we gonna like ruin a perfectly nice morning or afternoon of pickleball by pointing out an illegal serve? Is that important, right? I mean, I think that's worth asking the question in that situation. And when you hear the podcast, you'll be the judge of what you think. But I would suggest that the situation that arose was not worth the result, meaning it wasn't worth apparently conflict forming between four adults, right? Two on each side having a conflict over this thing, regardless of who's right. That's the thing, right? So I'm saying, doesn't matter if I'm right or you're right. Is this the hill we want to die on, right? Is this the hill that we want to like, ruin again, a very nice morning or afternoon of pickleball over this particular call? And then the other thing I would suggest to you is, and not just call this particular rule, right? Whatever it is, even like kitchen violations. If it's a little shuffle thing, I mean, what are we gonna do? We're gonna because you're gonna say, one side's gonna say you were in the kitchen, and the other side's gonna say no, I wasn't. What's the who settles that, right? What's the rule? Who settles that confrontation? And I would suggest to you that the vast majority of times when you're playing, your games are not going to be decided by these one-off controversies, and that if you want to like improve your chances of winning, if you want to improve your chances of performing better, right? Don't worry about that stuff. There's probably 80 things that you could work on in your game that will lead to more better results, more results that you're like, than fretting about, I don't know, whatever rule, whatever weird rule was violated, or whatever tic tac violations. I would just say, listen, let's make it. I'll tell you what to do. But I would suggest you give some thought to, is this the hill that I want to die on? Is this where? Is this how I want? Is this where I want my match to turn into some adversarial situation, as opposed to just a beautiful day of pickleball? So, and I would suggest to you, if you're on the fence about what to do, we love the book by Coach Peter Scales called "Compete, Learn, Honor" for tennis. Actually, I'm sorry, it's called "Mental and Emotional Training for Tennis: Compete, Learn, Honor." I don't know, CJ, if we can share that link in this system. I'm not sure, but we have a link that they'll take you right to the book, and highly recommend you buy it. It'll really give you a different perspective about the game, and I guarantee you that if you read Coach Pete's book, those those potentially uncomfortable situations will be less relevant. Actually, CJ, I don't know if I texted you about this earlier or not, but I watched the singles match between Callie Smith and Annalie Waters at the Tournament Champions. Fantastic, good match, like good battle, like both of them just back and forth, back and forth. You can see the swings and momentum and the shots and the movement. I mean, really nice match, right? But the match was a little bit, I don't know, it became a little bit less enjoyable, or less. It was there was what detracted from the match was there was a ton of outcall questions, like, in other words, like challenges on outcalls, and frankly, it was Callie Smith first, like challenging, like call after call after call after. Yeah, I mean, just kind of, and it's just the looks, like looking across, and Annalise started doing it, and you're kind of watching it, and you're like, okay, that's just. But I mean, they are playing for a TOC, and there's, I think, money on the line. I'm not sure TOC, but still, it was like, even there, you're like, ugh. So anyway, So there's some questions, CJ. I see questions rolling through. Do you want me to look at them, or do you want to? I don't know if you want to. Hello, Martha. If you want to throw them down here, or you want me to jump on in, it's up to you. All right, she's doing something on the thing. Let's see here. So community working, but now on YouTube, sounding good. Thank you, Barry. Hello, Barry. Could you talk about the speed up shot? Martha, are we talking about attack there? All right. All right, Martha Roper. Martha Roper's actually knows Peter Scales and has some sort of I don't know how she knows him, but she knows him. But Martha, so the speed up shot is basically it's a surprise attack, right? It's supposed to look like a dink, right? So you're supposed to present your paddle like it's like you're dinking, so you don't give it away, and then you're basically gonna roll it into a into your opponent, either past them or at them. You know, again, it depends on level of play. Are you playing rec or competitive? Like you're playing rec, I mean, people normally don't like balls getting tossed into their chest in rec play, so be careful with that one. But usually a speed up shot is basically, you present like you're going to dink. So you have your paddle out in front, and instead of dinking, you're going to take the paddle and you're just going to speed the ball up. And remember, anytime you attack, the key to attacking is you have to overcome the defense of your opponents. So if your attack doesn't overcome the defense of your opponents and you're attacking, usually that doesn't go well for you. So you have to usually overcome the rule of thumb is you want to overcome their defense in either that shot or the next one. So you kind of have two shots at it. So hopefully that answers the question. Let's see here. 5.0 player. I'll come to you in a second, but Martha said a 5.0 player told me to hit the ball toward the middle of the front of the paddle. What do you think? Um, I'm always careful what 5.0 players recommend. And here's the thing, Martha. So remember something. I mean, yes, there is a place for that sort of attack, right? But you gotta decide, is that right for me in my game right now, right? That's what you've heard this before from both CJ and me. That's kind of the red herring squirrel sort of thing sometimes. If everything else is working and everything's cool and you want to add it to your game, fine. If you want to add it to your game just because it makes you smile, add it to your game. If you're trying to add it to your game because that you think is the next step in your path, then that's where you go on to stop for a second and say, is this really what I need in my path to improvement? So hopefully that helps there. Martha, COVID's, I would say, so the question, are we talking about COVID-19 still? I think we are. It's everywhere, right? So now that 700,000 people have died, should we be more careful in our pickleball games? I would say, you need to be careful, pickleball, not pickleball, whatever. I mean, I think, my personal view on it is you need to take precautions that make sense, like, a busy indoor area versus an outdoor, not as busy area. You can make those decisions, but certainly, I mean, careful makes sense. But that's kind of outside our general knowledge anyway. Let's see here, Brian. I am told for the Bay Area, the Concord pickleball courts have some. I am told for maybe I'm from the Bay Area. The Concord pickleball courts have some very good players. I think there's a tournament in La Quinta that week. Bummer. So I guess you're going to play in the tournament, Brian. If you are, good luck. Hope it goes well. Nina, what's going on, Nina? Pickleball is growing here in South Carolina. New people coming every time. What is the first thing to teach them? That's a great question, Nina. I love that question because we're actually CJ and I are working on basically a series to help players get started. I would say the most important thing to teach new players, if you want to teach them anything, is the very basics of the game, meaning like how to, like kind of like you got to serve diagonal, those very basic rules. And I think the objective, if you have somebody new, right, and you want them to stay in the game, is you want them to be on the court, right? You want them to experience pickleball play, and so get them on the court as soon as possible. I would suggest thinking and the details of the NBC lobs, whatever, stuff like that. Don't worry about that right now, right? Don't even worry about strategy, really. Just get them out on the court, get them enjoying the game, get them to where they can they're functional on the pickleball court. That'll give them confidence to then go to open play. That'll give them confidence to, expand their play. But the most important thing, I think, for a very, very new player is just here's the pickleball paddle. Here's how you want to hold it. Hit the ball over there and enjoy the game. So I think that's the recommendation there. Rachel, how you doing, Rachel? Hey, Manchester, Vermont, Rachel, what's happening? watching all the videos. Rachel, that's a lot of videos. Be careful with that. And actually, when we say be careful with that, there is such a thing as drinking too much, right? So think about like you're drinking water and they give you a fire hose. So I'm glad you're watching the videos, Rachel. I'm not trying to talk you out of watching the videos. So I'm happy you're with us, but pace it, right? And then if you want to see the improvement, right, whatever it is that you're looking at, spend some time with it, right? Let's see here. What I see here without any a ton of making. What I see here without any something, a ton of making up the rules, and also, oh, okay. Any newer players come along positive. Okay, so Rachel, about any general advice for helping the group of newer players come along positively and correctly in the game? Again, what I suggested is just get out on the court, help them get on the court as much as possible, as early as possible. Fill in the stuff around it. I do think if you want to help them, like what we were talking about earlier about the rules thing, is just impart unto them hopefully a spirit of, listen, we just want to play the game. Let's just play the game, unless it's like a gross violation of the rules or it's something that's materially affecting the game. Like I said, if it's a sideways serve like this, but it's just being looped in, does it really matter? Now if it's a serve up here and they're just cranking the ball in, maybe you can say. Hopefully that helps, Rachel. Brian, reset shot. Playing either 4.0 or higher plays or bangers. Can you explain how to execute the shot when the ball is high or the ball is low? Sure thing, Brian. Easy. High ball, let it go, right? So if they hit it hard high, nothing you should be doing there. Low ball, call and paddle. Call and paddle, Brian. That's the key. And body. Irwin, what's happening? I have a 4-5 tourney. Awesome, Irwin. Men's doubles coming up this Sunday. I've never played in a pickleball tournament. I thought you were going to say I've never played pickleball, and that would be amazing, but that'd be awesome. And it's about stacking. Oh, no. If I'm on the ad side and serve on the do side and we lose the point inside out, do I stay on the do side to return? Okay. I don't have time, Erwin, to break down the score. I'm sorry about that. But two things. One, we have a stacking lab that I don't know if you have time. When is it? This Sunday? Well, maybe you don't have time for that one. But we have a stacking lab. I'm telling you. It's a stacking masterclass. I know a little bit about pickleball. I'm just kidding. I know enough about pickleball, but I know this much about stacking. So you want to learn stacking, I highly recommend the stacking lab. Where you stand is going to be whether you're stacking or not. In other words, stacking doesn't affect where you stand in the sense of like having to serve from a side or return from a side. Stacking affects from where you play the rally after the serve and after the return. So it doesn't change where you're supposed to be standing. So if you know how to score and stand, you got the answer. All right. Nina, awesome. Holy moly, Irwin. And my partner goes, my partner. All right. Same answer, Irwin. The score, stacking doesn't change where you stand on serve and return. So hopefully that helps. And it can be confusing. Again, if you're playing 4-5, you get yourself that stacking level. I'm telling you what, I promise you that adding stacking to your game at any level, right? But at the 4-5 level, not enough players at the 4-5 level are stacking. So if you stack, you're going to have an advantage over all the other 4-5s out there, or most of the other 4-5s out there. And, and just like I said with the camps, get the stacking lab. If you don't like it, Irwin, you let us know. Boom, back at you. No problem. Scoring, yes, is definitely the hardest thing, Nina, for sure. Scoring, especially the third number. Like, why do we have 3 numbers in this game? But I would suggest you the same thing. Just let them play. And if they don't know the scoring right, then suggest to them, why don't you let the partner, if the partner's more experienced, the partner run the scoring, right, or drive the scoring. So, definitely a good reason, Irwin, to stack left, right. But I'm gonna tell you one thing. It's a good reason. Don't get me wrong, but it's an overly simplistic way of looking at stacking. I stack. I'm left-handed. I play with a left-handed player often, in tournaments, and we stack. We're both left-handed, but we stack because we do it when it makes sense for us. And sometimes I stack backwards, where I put the backhands in the middle, the forehands on the outside when I'm playing with a right-handed player, right? So this left-handed, right-handed thing, that's the most traditional stack. Forehands in the middle, boom, 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 let's do this. But stacking is so much more than that. So, and I don't know, CJ, are you still on this thing? I don't know if CJ can send you the link in there to the stacking thing so you can take a look at that. I'm not even sure. We've been moving. Erwin, stacking is going to blow your mind. The stacking masterclass, take it slowly because the stuff in there it's crazy. And I've used it in definitive moments of matches to win matches. It's not something that's like, I do it just because I'm left-handed. And no. I'm talking about very definitive matches that I played, and I explained those in the stacking masterclass. I give you the stories as to why we did it, how we did it, to help you craft your own game. And stacking allows you, Erwin, to take control of your own game. It allows you to have complete control of your side of the court. If you're not stacking, how we got on stacking, CJ? If you're not stacking, you are playing victim to the score. So I'm going to say more about that. Process what I'm saying. You're playing as a victim to the score if you don't stack. If you stack, now you're the boss of your side. So, CJ, do we have anything on Facebook, or is Facebook quiet? Because I think we're at our limit today. I think we've reached the Maximilian. We've answered all the questions. We got some new people on here. Appreciate everybody showing up on YouTube. We love YouTube, CJ, right? Sorry you don't get to talk to CJ today, but her mic is just a disaster. No, we're gonna sort that out. She already has. She went off camera so she could order her new mic. Oh no!
No, I'm back. We're done. I'll be home next week. So, all right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining, and reach out to CJ at wearepickleball.com, Erwin. You won't be disappointed. If you are, don't worry about it. We got you covered. All right, guys and gals. Have a nice evening. Keep on playing pickleball. Enjoy the game. Don't get caught up in the rules, folks. Let's do this.